I'd like to call this Monday, December 12th, Board of Education meeting to order. If you'll please join me for the pledge.
To the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible.
The mission of the East Hampton Public Schools is that we partner with our families and community to prepare confident, compassionate, and collaborative learners who navigate a complex global society. And with a full house, we move to student and staff recognition.
I'm going to call our athletic director to the podium. Not only are you going to meet the boys soccer team, you're going to meet the girls volleyball team tonight, and I'm going to turn everything right over to Sean. And by the way, thank you all for joining us tonight. I know it's a very busy time of year for everyone.
It's quite a fall we had this year. It was really nice to see what East Hampton high school sports used to be. A few challenging years, none of these young people had a chance to be part of that before now. It was really great to see the town, as it always has, come out and support the student athletes' efforts. It's great to see full stands. The tournaments were great runs to see, so many familiar faces, people from way back. Really, East Hampton has always been a great place. It's always supported its kids, and this was no different this fall. The boys soccer team, I'm going to talk about here for a couple of minutes. So 63 years ago, the boys soccer team played in their first state championship game in 1959. And in that time, we've played in 6 state championship games, including this year. And in that time, in those 63 years since our first state championship and a few years prior, we have never won a boys conference championship in the history of this high school in soccer. So that's going on 70 soccer seasons. That has not happened until this fall. It's amazing, tremendous to see it happen with this group of young men. So proud of all of them and the way that they wear that uniform and represent this town. It was quite a run. Coaches did an absolutely amazing job, and I'm going to call them up here in a minute this year of molding these young men into a team. And for those of you that were there for any part of the season or a lot of the season, and certainly those that could be with us on that very cold state championship day, you got to see the very best of the future of East Hampton and what it had to offer. So I'd like to bring up the coaches to help me in the next portion of our recognition tonight. Our head coach, Coach Rocco Cristiano. Rocco. Assistants, Michelle Landry and Bill Blakey. So work, boys, is we'll call you up alphabetically. So hopefully the first one of you does it right, and the rest can follow along. And we'll do our best, and I'd like to have you come up, and we'll stay up here when you get up here. And I'd like to get you the recognition that you have so well deserved and worked so hard to get. Some of the boys aren't here, but I'm going to recognize all of them whether they are here tonight or not. Bryce Bailey. Ethan Blakey. Everybody watch Ethan now. Ephraim Butson. David Castablanco. Yeah. Thomas Fenton. Elliot Galovich. And Gavon. Dorino. Johnson. Gustine. Jacob Karen. Joshua Landon. Evan Leadus. Chris Lintz. Neil Lopes. Colin Marshall. Ethan Marshall. Will Navis. Joe Nanos. Miss Palmer. Jacob Remeshewski. Lance. Jackson Worker. Tasman. Aiden Trombino. Adam Watt. Ryan Wilson. Ryan Collins. Of the 2022 Shoreline Conference Championship Boys Soccer Team. Just a few words.
Everybody knows, huh? I first want to congratulate the boys. Just a tremendous season. Their dedication, their hard work. The assistant coaches did a great job with me this season. We're not the ones on the field. We can only coach them. When they're out there, they're all business. The town, the support from the town, the parents, the administration, everybody brought us to a new level this year, and I think that's what gave us the opportunity to win the Shoreline and get as far as we did. So thank you to everybody.
Don't unwrap it because it doesn't do well in the cold. Wrap it when you get home.
All right, guys.
Thank you, boys.
Thank you.
As we transition to our volleyball team, so one of the great things about being involved in high school athletics in a town like this is that you really get a chance to know all your student athletes. You know, it's not the size school where they are a ID number or a school, you know, badge number. They are kids you get to see grow up. You get to see them in middle school, you see them in Little League, and eventually they get to the high school and you kind of shake your head and say, whoa, they're in high school. So for me, volleyball has been a long journey. So This is back to Dr. Linda Berry was a principal at the high school back in 2005, 6, and Linda and I had, at that time, set off on a Hampton High School athletics, and that plan included some sports expansion. And volleyball and golf and football were the sports that in those next few years were added. And volleyball became a sport at East Hampton High School in 2007. And that year we played exclusive JV-only schedule, and we lost every one of those games. In 2008, we became a varsity program, and we went 3-15 in our first varsity program, first season. The following year, in 2009, we went 15-3 and reached our first state semifinal. So since 2009, we have played in 5 state semifinals under several head coaches, and this year culminating in, which is very rare, to have the double of winning your conference championship and winning a state championship. So for me, the program has felt like one of my children. Kind of watching it start from, literally we had the first year, we had, I want to say 36 or 38 girls. We kept every girl that was interested in volleyball. And there was a lot of volleyball being played that year. A lot of trying to teach them volleyball, but there's not a lot of volleyball. But just the kind of meteoric rise that the program took is really a testament to the young ladies in this town who have decided to make volleyball a passion of theirs. And when you combine that group of young ladies who want to do something in that way with that focus and a quality coaching staff to boot, and put them in an environment in a league where they are challenged a lot and are forced to be at their best, you see a lot of good things. And this year was really the culmination of that. For those of you that were along for the ride back from our first games in September through, had some rough patches there early in the year to when we really kind of got it going and things were moving along. And into the tournaments, the conference tournament was a difficult road for us, and we did a great job with that. And then the state tournament, we probably had the most difficult path you could have to winning a state championship. And that's one of the things in high school sports you don't control. The state tournament is laid out the way it lays out. Sometimes there's an easier route than other years. Sometimes you have a really, really, really good team that the road is just too much and you can't get there. Other years you have not as good of a team and you somehow you get to the end. But they had to endure. They had to beat the best teams all the way through the tournament. And then that final game, it's one of those things where 10 or 12 years from now, there'll be 3,000 people in town, they'll tell me they were there. There's really probably, 400 or 500 of you, but everyone will somehow, but that's how East Hampton is, and that's one of the things that makes me proud to live here and raise my kids here. Is that, the town really takes you in. It is a family, and these people they'll believe that story when they tell me that they were there. Even if they weren't, they'll have heard from the people that were there, but what a great day that was, and another day they were just pushed as far as they could be pushed, and lost those first 2 sets and then had to win the 3 in a row to get it done, and it's just a great celebration for everybody, and what a great season. So without further ado, I'd like to bring up the coaching staff, head coach Molly Grabowski and her assistant Sarah Massey. Sarah's a former bell ringer, student athlete herself, so it was great to see them back doing their thing. All right, girls, you saw the boys do it, so your turn. First is Sophia Oresco. Ella Babcock. Bear. Vivian Braun Fails. Megan Burke. Olivia D'Agostino. Olivia DiMartino. Yay. Madison Jacobson. Jump. Sophia Long. Stephanie Martin. Amber Murphy. Jenna Murphy. Jordan Murphy. Sue Murphy. No. Kenzie Claire. Delaney Russell. Chelsea Ryan. Tinson. Twiss. Chelsea Woods.
So I'd like to take a moment just to congratulate you girls. So this is quite an achievement. I think when you're in it and when you're working so hard, it's hard to realize how special a moment it is. But I think as the days tick away, as years tick away, you'll come to realize how special this season was. Okay? And I really want to thank the Board of Ed for acknowledging us in this way. This couldn't have happened to a nicer community. So congratulations.
Great job, ladies.
Thank you to our teams. We really appreciate you taking the time. We know a lot of you have come right from basketball or indoor track and are going home now to eat dinner and or study or both. So if you would like to exit, nobody on the Board of Ed will be offended if you want to sneak out at this portion of the meeting. Thank you all very much.
Thanks.
Good seeing you guys.
Do you want to announce all the families from
Yes. And as you are exiting, a special thank you to Paul and Sandy's for their donation of the flowers tonight.
Okay, I will put some. Yeah, just have them keep them. Sorry, I'm gonna reprint them all. We'll send them to you. Just keep the black.
I didn't even notice.
The professional soccer players all.
I'm like the good luck child whenever I go.
I think we skipped liaisons, Paula. I'm gonna.
Oh,
It's okay.
I'm afraid I have destroyed
It's all
that
good.
slide.
We can keep the team up, it's a very nice picture.
Okay.
Thank you. I don't see any interboard liaisons here anyway, so I'm gonna skip over 5-1 for Board of Finance or Town Council. Neil Schlansky's not here, but I'm sure he's watching the live stream. And with that, we move to audience of citizens. I don't believe I see any in the room, unless Karen, you would like to speak as a
That's
citizen.
okay, thank you. Irene's one too.
Yes, Irene.
Shelley is too.
With that, we move to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion for the East Hampton Board of Ed to adopt the consent agenda, which consists of items 7.1 and 7.2, the November 28th meeting minutes, and the November 22nd special meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Thank you. Student Board of Ed representatives. Congratulations again, Delaney.
Thank you.
Celebrating.
Good evening, everybody. So for our school updates, this Thursday, the Spanish Club is hosting a cooking competition based off of the reality TV show Chopped. The Interact Club just hosted their ABC Women's Shelter Drive gift wrapping event. Over 60 people helped wrap gifts for many children. On December 1st, the DECA Club hosted a co-campus cleanup along with the help from Environmental Club and Art Club. And in honor of the 10 years since the Sandy Hook school shooting, Save Promise Club is going to be encouraging kids all week to wear green this Wednesday to support. And last Friday, East Hampton High School participated in PJ Day for the kids to stand in support for young children with cancer. Many students showed support wearing their pajamas, and hot chocolate was also served in the morning.
Good evening. Cheer will be hosting an exhibition night next Thursday from 7:30 to 9 at the high school. This night will include performances from both the middle and high school cheerleading teams. Boys and girls basketball both open at home this week. The girls play tomorrow against Amistad at 7, and Thursday they will travel to HK. The boys open this Friday at 7 against HK. Boys hockey opens at home versus E.O. Smith and Tolland. Girls hockey beat Stanford, West Hill, and Staples on Saturday 3-0 and play tonight against Hall. Boys and girls indoor track and field will have their first meet tomorrow at the Floyd Little Athletic Center. Thank you.
Thank you. Very much. Personnel, no updates. Policy and curriculum, Nancy?
There was a meeting tonight, this meeting, and we have some policy coming up.
Finance, transportation, building and grounds, Augie?
Yeah, so the bus contract bid openings were Friday. We received 3 bids, DATCO, M&J, and First Student. And we had a meeting tonight to discuss that, so there'll be more information forthcoming.
Thank you. Communications, superintendent's report.
Just a brief reminder that tomorrow evening is the town meeting for the middle school replacement. Should be a very brief meeting, but we do need some people from town to actually come and make sure that we pass the resolution. I think I sent you a copy of that. It was printed in this week's update as well. So just a few bodies in here, come and bring someone, and you'll be out probably by 6:10.
We should have honored the teams tomorrow.
Yes, we should have done that. Just a reminder, we use NESDEC, the New England School Development Council, for our annual enrollment. And these are the numbers that I use for the budget each year, and they've been pretty close. I'm gonna walk you through a few pages. On page 2 of that packet, and I think you've got it in your board packet this week, at the bottom on page 2, that's the historical enrollment. On page 2, at the bottom, that is our current enrollment. And then they break it down by historical enrollment in grade combinations. Once again, this year's enrollment that they predicted is the bottom line, and you can actually see how close they are. They've been pretty good about their projections. So where they said we would have 542 in pre-K to 3, we're at 545. They predicted 264 in 4 and 5, we're at 265. The middle school is 433, close to the 434, and the high school is at 514. High school is at 515, and they predicted 514. So we've been able to rely on their projections for the last several years. At least since I've been here, the projections have been pretty close. The only anomaly is that the K number that they predicted 2 years ago was kind of the average of this year's K and 1. So if you look at page 4, the second line, the top line is where we are this year. The second line is what they are predicting for next year. So if you look at that grade 1 and 2 average, that's where we kind of predict will be for kindergarten for next year. And then there's a little bump up. There's quite a bump up estimated in the year for birth year 2021, which will be the 26-27 school year. And then again on page 4, this is something that I would encourage people to look at, only because when I first arrived in town in 2016, January 2016, there was actually talk of closing center and moving the students to Memorial for 4th grade and to the middle school for 5th grade. And at the time, we just did not have the room. We really still do not have the room. And I'm going to show you, if you follow that red line down, around 2026-27, you're going to see a large growth all of a sudden if you look at where pre-K5 is, and then the next year, the K5 and the pre-K3, and you kind of see this increase that's going to happen. And while the high school will drop, they predict down to 406, those numbers will start moving through. So, my recommendation to this board and future boards will be, you're not going to be closing center school anytime soon. A lot of districts are consolidating schools or anything, but based on what they're predicting, I think you've got a pretty good case to say that you do need all the spaces that Memorial and Center School provide to you. And this is just a different way of showing the chart on page 4, page 7, I'm sorry. It's kind of a historical and then a projected enrollment, so you kind of see us. If you look at 226 on, we're kind of increasing a little, and then we start leveling out. So the population that you have now will drop a little, but then it kind of grows back up, and it's going to level out. So what we're seeing is something that, and I'm going to jump one slide, that you see on page 11 at the bottom. And it says although most New England districts are seeing a decline in the number of births, what NESDEC is saying that the impact is different from district to district. And while they're seeing some declining in rural areas, other districts are remaining stable. And I think we would have to count ourselves as one of those districts who were pretty stable. There was a report that came out in the state in 2013-14, and it said that numbers were going to drop by 25% in Connecticut schools, and we just have not seen that. And you certainly haven't seen that here. If you look back at next year's numbers, I think they're saying that you'll be about 14 students less, that K-12 number in the second last column, you may be 14 students less. And what we even find is kind of is some kids move out, other kids are moving in to take their place. So 14 students, may sound dramatic, but it's like an average of 1 per grade. There's not a huge difference. And then on page 9, this is always a fascinating chart because around 2007 to 2009, the K enrollment was actually under the number of births in town. But since that time, you've either been over the births in town or above. And I think that what that tells you is that students are moving in to, younger children are moving in instead of younger children moving out of the town. And that big bump that you see for next year, I think if we averaged the K enrollment from the last couple of years, we saw that dip last year in K. I think, you kind of see the bump up for that this year. That last column is 22, 23. And I think that if we had without the pandemic, 21 and 22 and 22 and 23, that would almost be a straight line across. Those classes have averaged 220. Anybody have any questions on the enrollment? So this is something that we get free with our NESDEC membership. I think we pay about $2,000 a year to be a member of NESDEC. They provide a number of journals to us, but I think the best thing that they do is do the enrollment. And I think it's important when we're standing up at budget time and talking to the town fathers that we have an outside source do our enrollment. It's not something we're projecting, it's coming from an agency that does quite a bit of enrollment projections. This is also required as part of the roof project that we have enrollments done. Not that it makes a huge difference for a roof project, but anytime you're looking for state funding, they want to make sure that you're building something that is still going to be used, especially with the roof 20 years into the future. They're not going to be happy if we close the school in 3 years because middle school, we were dividing middle school and high school for some reason. Any questions? Excellent.
Thank you. Program presentation, there is none, which leads us to unfinished business. One is the review of the recommended Board of Education Policy 6141.51, advanced courses or programs, eligibility criteria for enrollment, which is the second reading.
I would like to make a motion to accept the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools and the Board of Education Policy and Curriculum Committee to approve Policy 6141.51, advanced courses or programs, eligibility criteria for enrollment.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Unanimous, thank you. 11.2, review of recommended Board of Education Policy 6141.52, challenging curriculum policy.
I would like to make a motion to accept the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools and the Board of Education Policy and Curriculum Committee to approve Policy 6141.52, challenging curriculum.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Unanimous, thank you. 11.3, review of recommended Board of Education Policy 5145.511, sexual abuse prevention and education program.
I would like to make a motion to accept the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools and the Board of Education Policy and Curriculum Committee to approve Policy 5145.511, sexual abuse prevention and education program.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Unanimous, thank you. Business. Review of recommended Board of Ed policy, gifted and talented policy 6172.1, first read. Nancy?
Yes, this is a first read. There was a change to the legal definition of gifted and talented, so that prompted the change. It's an updated and mandated policy as of July 1st, 2022.
Any questions for Nancy? Okay, thank you. 12.2, approval of the 23-24 Board of Ed meeting schedule. Do I have a motion to approve the schedule? Some. Jinx? Who wants it?
She can have it.
Okay.
You
Would
can
you
do
like
it.
a second?
I will second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, thank you. Any suggestions for future business from the board? Yeah.
I would like to make a suggestion as being a member of the Policy and Curriculum Subcommittee to do an in-depth study of the curriculum of the arts, K through 12, and how it relates to the various art programs through the various grade levels to see what exactly is being taught, how, and how it meets the requirements for higher education. I understand that we do offer, or we may be able to offer, some form of AP course that would get someone who's interested in the arts a little bump up if they're looking to pursue something in that field in higher education. And art, I think, would be, it's a little more open to interpretation as opposed to various technical courses like science or math, where you really have, something that's really more stringent. Art is being more of a interpretation, and various art instructors may look at things differently, and I think it's pretty interesting, interesting topic. I don't think the Board of Education has looked at a thorough review of any of our particular curricula through the grades, and I'd like to take this opportunity to do so. I do not believe it's something that should be, that should take an extensive amount of time, because we already have the curriculum in place. It shouldn't be that difficult to kind of round things up, put things together and say, this is what we're doing in kindergarten, grade 1, 2, 3, and then as we go through the grades, what exactly are the colleges looking for? Are we able to provide to the universities what they're looking for in a student? And then, of course, we could follow up with, well, how many students are interested in something or pursuing such a career? Might not be that many. I don't know. We haven't looked. I'd like to look and see what are we doing here in this particular area. I don't think it's an unreasonable request. I understand that the various art teachers are actually they like the idea that they've been focused on, because, you look at various topics through our budget process. I am, of course, I'm a fan and a big proponent of STEM. The STEM programs, I think they're very important, but I don't want to leave art behind. And so I'd like to focus in on that area to a certain level, thoroughly. I'd like to look at it thoroughly and see what's going on, and make recommendations if I see, or ask questions. What are you doing here, there, or anywhere? And I think engaging those particular teachers would be an education not only for the Policy and Curriculum Subcommittee, but to the board in general. We could present our findings to the board and to the public. I think it would be an exciting thing to review. I think that it's something worthwhile. I don't think it would take an extensive amount of time. I think that the teachers would be glad to hear that we're interested in what they're teaching us to kids. I think that the kids who perform well would like to see their efforts being rewarded by the Board of Education. If we find something outstanding that we think might be worthy of further study, or maybe perhaps further funding, I think it's an exciting thing that we could pursue. And I would like to make my suggestion that we, as a board, look into the K through 12 and higher degree level of art in East Hampton.
Thank you for your suggestion. Mr. Garber.
Excuse me, just 1 second. I just want to make sure that people know we do have an AP art course, and the East Hampton Arts and Culture group, they sponsor an art competition each year. So there is a lot of community support for the arts, and in-school support as well.
Thank you.
So
Thank you, Steph.
So why would I not be permitted to, do I need a motion? Why is this something that can't be?
I'm gonna ask a question, okay? Mr. Barber, can I refer to you as a Robert's Rules expert on my options here? Can I tally the board on whether or not they agree with what Mr. Kusapora is saying to determine if the group as a whole feels it's appropriate to put on a future agenda?
Two people have the authority to add to the agenda, that's the chairperson and the superintendent. You're basically asking for suggestions, but upon motion, a majority motion, the board itself can make its own agenda.
Okay,
So, my suggestion to you, if you're
Yes,
asking for that,
please.
is just, why don't you just, we've heard what Sal has to say, why don't you just poll everybody and see if it's something that is gonna grow legs?
okay. Poll at this point, if anyone else would like to review in depth the art curriculum of the district, please raise your hand.
Well, I'd like to, can I provide a
Yes,
comment on that?
Please.
Now, if Sal, I don't particularly agree, I would go with a program presentation,
Okay.
because I'm not as familiar with what's going on in our art curriculum as I'd like to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give Sal his due on that it would be nice to hear. I don't think an in-depth study where we're going to commit resources and manpower during budget season is wise at this point.
Okay.
But I think that I would love to see if the superintendent and Mary can provide a program presentation from each school explaining what they're doing, which is exactly what Sal wants to know, and we should know as well. So if he goes to that point, I would be interested in that as myself.
Okay. Augie, any comment from you?
I agree with Mr. Barber.
Nancy?
Yeah, no, ditto. I don't think an in-depth, I think that we have people who have already done that, professionals who have looked into it, and I would be happy to hear about it, but I don't think, I agree, committing resources at this point does not make sense.
Okay. Nancy?
I agree as well, outside of budget season, I would say.
Okay.
My question is, should it be handled at the policy and curriculum subcommittee level? Or,
Well, I think, if I may, Sal, or Madam Chair,
Yes,
I think
please.
what's going to happen is much like we normally get as an educational or familiarization program, and then we're going to have a chance to interact and have questions. Now, of course, if that leads to other questions, or what we see as a deficiency, then maybe you would motion that to the subcommittee for further review.
yeah.
If you see a deficiency. That's how I see that would probably play out.
Yeah.
I think my caution would be that I wouldn't want a tremendous amount of time to be spent preparing materials unnecessarily for vetting purposes, which is what your statement sounded like to me. So as long as it's not that, I'm good with it. I'm good with a brief presentation so that we can get an idea from each school.
I would have to, I don't know the time frame, but you're concerned about
And
time.
it would be outside of budget, for sure.
Right, yes, that's,
Yes.
yes. But what I'm talking about is, I'm not sure how much, I would have to refer to our experts over here on how much time it would take to put something together. I don't know what we're dealing with.
It would be time consuming, which
But
is
what is
why.
that, what is time consuming, 10
which
hours,
is
5
why
hours? I don't know what.
I want to make sure that we're all on the same page with what to expect, so thank you for your suggestion. Yes?
One of the first targets in any budget constriction is art, athletics, that kind of stuff. This, I would not limit to just outside of the budget season. We may want to know this information or have talking points well prior to the presentation of the budget. That arts and athletics are high on the hit list every budget season. So I would suggest that perhaps if the administration could find a place to button us in for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, like any other presentation,
Madam Chair, I would just like to say that we do have the opportunity at any time during our budget workshops and our meetings to question the superintendent and the director of curriculum about parts of the curriculum, including the arts if we wish to, without having a formal presentation done. Others have questions about budget items related to the arts, or by extension, I would say, parts of what is being taught as part of the curriculum. I expect that is something that could be addressed in a question and answer type session about the budget.
I don't think that would be as in-depth as just popping a couple of questions on the superintendent or the director of curriculum on that, where there's no give and take, where the person actually teaching or producing or using the curriculum is not present to answer those questions. I mean, short of I don't want to, it's not an interrogatory, I just want to know what's going on. I agree with Sal on that. I'd love to hear what's going on, and you know, we just had a very nice explanation from athletic director of the history of the volleyball, and I'm going to plead ignorance. I didn't even know we had a hockey team. So shame on me. Now, I don't know what we're doing in art. I mean, I don't know how. Are we just crayons, or what are we doing out here? So I think it would be nice to get educated. This is the Board of Education.
I will, I'll work with Paul and Mary, and we'll work on scope and date.
Now, I mean, we've had them in for music before, so I can speak in, you know, at least on budget issues about the music program. But I'm sorry, I'm just not up to speed on the art program.
I think that's fair. I think my concern is scope, and we'll work on date in terms of timing. Any other suggestions for future business? Personnel actions, there are none. Audience of citizens. Yes.
Irene Cook, 11 South Main Street. I just wanted to say in regards to the arts discussion.
Could you come over here to the microphone, please? Hard for me to hear.
Irene Cook, 11 South Main Street. In regards to the arts discussion, I just wanted to briefly say, I don't know how the timing will work, but there is always a district-wide art show that is highlighted in the high school, usually around spring time. And I would say that pictures are worth 1,000 words. You can see yourself what is happening in our district from K through 12. You won't get the background information as to what particular skills they were working on with the different art forms, but I think it's a very good representation of what our district students are capable of in their art skills. And also, at least for the high school, on our website for prospective students and course selections, the digital media and the visual arts program do have small introductory videos on there, if that would help, just as a very baseline for your inquiry.
Thank you so much, Irene.
Thanks, Irene.
Anyone else for audience of citizens? Calendar of events. Paul?
Just a quick note, you may want to discuss your January 9 meeting and your January 23 meeting. As far as, I know there's conflicts with members on January 9th, and we have quite a bit of budget and the bus contract and things like that. So perhaps you just want to have a conversation. We don't even have to necessarily make a decision now, but just because January 9th is going to come up very quickly as we go away in a week and a half and then come back and it's the next week and a half.
members not in attendance are auditing in.
And I will not have the ability to remote in.
Okay, and I don't think Audie will either, because he'll be out of the country.
Debatable, right?
Okay. Suggestions?
Dump it all on the 23rd, because if you go the next week, then you've got, you could put it on a Tuesday, because you've got Martin Luther King Day on that Monday. And, well, it depends what your agenda is, I guess.
It's a full
It's a
agenda
full
on the night.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have the art presentation that night.
There will not be art.
Paul, is there any hesitation on combining those two into the 23rd?
No, you don't get to push back voting on the budget on February 27th.
Right.
But what we would do is, I would be able to give you my material and Karen's material probably right after Martin Luther King Day, so you'd have a chance to look at everything. I'll do a very brief introduction, we can get right into Karen's numbers, and, because that's kind of the introduction to the budget. We usually invite Board of Finance and Town Council members, so we would just push that invitation from the 9th to the 23rd.
Okay.
We didn't send out those letters yet, did we?
Today.
Okay, so we'll, it's too good. So we will change those letters to read the 23rd,
Okay,
if that's what the board wishes.
okay.
Or you could always move more administrative stuff to the 9th.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
do
like
some
pull it out of February or whatever else.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we keep the 9th meeting, we'll adjust the schedule, we'll adjust the contents of the agenda.
Would you like an introduction to the budget, or would you like to push that back to the 23rd?
It all depends on what materials are gonna come out so we can read off.
Well, if Karen's booked by the 23rd, the hard numbers, I'll have a sense of what the increase is and what we're looking to do with minimal increase.
So that you could actually give me a hard copy on that, right?
I could have that, yeah, by definitely that Thursday,
Don't
Friday
send it
before.
by email, that's not that one.
Okay. We'll have a hard, when are you leaving?
Day after Christmas.
We won't have a hard copy for you, please.
We can overnight it. No, we can't. I think we should keep the 9th and we'll swap some.
Okay.
Let me look. Let's just keep the 9th and we'll do more administrative and we'll.
Just think, those votes are important.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that.
Okay, I do have a question about the cheer exhibition. Thank you very much, Nancy.
Yes.
Is it I thought it was in January.
The information I got from the
Is it
cheerleading
January
thing
19th?
was Thursday, January 19th,
Okay, thank
7:30
you.
to 9.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Right, I will confirm that. But I
No-
believe
no
that
big
is,
deal.
that
Thank
is the
you.
correct night.
Thank you so much. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that.
Okay, Karen?
Second.
Second by Sal, all in favor? Aye,
Aye.
unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody.
It's not Robert's rules that gives you the agenda.